So the lesser known islands of Japan. So Japan isn't just the big bright lights of Tokyo and Osaka. There are actually quite a few small islands, particularly in the south part of the country, that are quite actually rural and nature based. I will take you through these now. I was lucky enough to cruise partway on a voyage with Hanseatic on board the Hanseatic Inspiration with Hapag Lloyd. So I started in Taiwan actually. We spent a day at sea and then we headed north through the Nansei Islands and I ended up in Beppu. So I didn't actually make my way all the way up to Hokkaido, which is what the itinerary was doing, but I did meet quite a few people on board that were actually had chosen this itinerary based on the first part of the part of the trip that I was on, because they wanted to see those lesser known islands of Japan that are actually a little bit hard to reach to because of their remoteness. And not all the itineraries that we will come across with small ship cruising will actually visit these islands. Our first stop was Naha in Okinawa. So Okinawa might ring a bell. It is a blue zone, so a place that's been identified where longevity reigns. So it is essentially famous for its old people in Okinawa, but Naha itself has lots to offer. So the town was about 300,000 people, but it was well set up for tourists. I only had a day there, and it's actually known as the Hawaii of Japan due to its laid back lifestyle, its beautiful beaches, and its subtropical climate. So the places of interest is the main commercial street, which is really set up for tourists. So if you like your knickknacks and little things of intrigue, it's the place to go. One of the famous things there they have is the purple sweet potato, which they've crafted to all sorts of tasty treats, including ice cream, which I tried, which was quite cool. Another thing that immediately stood out was their love of spam. So we weren't really sure about the fit of spam in local Japanese cuisine, but it is actually related to when the Americans occupied Japan after, or the area after World War II, and so they brought lots of their influences, including spam, which has remained. So you can get some nice spam t-shirts, and you can also find different ways of eating spam, which is quite intriguing as well. And food is actually a big thing in Naha. We went to the local seafood market, found all sorts of interesting creatures from the sea, including those deadly blowfish, which actually give a new kind of meaning to trust the chef on your menu. But what you can do there is actually select which seafood you'd like to eat, and they'll take it up to the next level, level two, and they'll cook it to how you'd like to eat it as well. When I was there, I also went to a lovely Chinese-inspired curated garden, which you might see in some of the brochures. Beautiful kind of tranquil setting, lovely for an afternoon stroll. I went, because I am interested in history, I went to the local museum, which went through pretty much what happened during World War II in the area, and I would recommend it as an educational piece and to kind of learn about the devastation that you might not hear so much in the area, Okinawa, which actually had more people die, I didn't know this, than the two atomic bombs in Nagasaki and Hiroshima combined. So that was quite interesting and very saddening as well. I also went to the local beach just before I boarded back onto the ship, just to see what it was like, and it was set up in a quintessential Japanese way, very neat and tidy. There were even some fully decked out lifesavers there. Couldn't spot any rips. It was nice and calm, pretty much just for paddling. And in true Japanese style, there was an overpass over the top of the beach as well. Next stop was Okinawabashima, which is a nice little island sitting out by itself. It was about 100 kilometres square and a population of about 12,000. So it was quite rural. It's one of Japan's quieter, lesser known touristy region, which gives it its charm. The area is famous for its white lilies, which are cultivated on the island, and you'll see them kind of popping through the lush foliage that you find here as well. So I really like hiking, so I decided to do a bit of a hike to the local museum on one day. It took me a couple of hours, but it was well worth it just to kind of immerse in that lovely native bush that they have there. They also have the Shiru Cave, which is one of Japan's largest stalactite caves. There's a small restaurant as well with the local seafood specialties. It's also a spot for snorkeling and diving, kayaking, getting out on the water as well. So the way we were traveling the lesser known islands of Japan was quite convenient actually. We would kind of have a different island each day, and then we would relocate overnight, so you could really maximize on that travel time. You didn't have any downtime while you were traveling, and then just wake up in a new port. So the next port that we went to was Amami in Oshima. The port town is Naze, and we literally just took a gangway and a short walk to the port town. So it wasn't a classic tourist hub, but the visit to the town gave you a good insight to local life. We enjoyed a tasty lunch at a quaint restaurant, and visited some local places, cafes, the supermarket as well, just to kind of see what local life was like, which was quite cool. And in the afternoon, we went on a bus tour to some places of interest. So the area itself was surrounded by forests and mangrove swamps, and a really impressive coastal landscape, which we saw on the bus tour. We went to a silk factory, and where people are still creating silk as they have for centuries. And they did say that it was one of the best silk producers in Japan, and it had produced silks for kimonos, which were retailing at over 300,000 euros, which was quite amazing. And you can see, they'll show you how it all gets woven together, and it might take months just to do a couple of square centimeters worth of these beautiful silks. You can of course buy in the gift shop, but yeah, it depends what your budget is. Yakushima had to be my favorite island stop. The whole island is a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its natural properties, and has been so since 1993. And it's well known for its ancient cedarwood forests, its moss-covered landscapes, and spectacular mountain regions as well. I wish I had more time here because there was a lot of hikes that I would have liked to have done, but I chose one up in the mountains. So caught the local bus up the top of this mountain, and yeah, it is well set up for travellers. It's got really good infrastructure. There are small hotels and little traditional rakyans, cozy cafes, and local restaurants. So you could spend a good couple of days here if you had the time. Went for a beautiful walk, saw some lovely waterfalls and obviously the big cedar woods, and just had a nice time immersing in nature. It would seem that every port that we visited in Japan had its a lovely, unique, and warm welcome. And I would say the best welcome that we received was in Iwajima. We were eating lunch on the deck as we cruised into the port, and we had some local boats, vessels, fishing boats, circle us with big flags, colourful flags, and they were waving to us as they circled the boats. So most of the islands that we visited to, we were able to exit via a gangway. In Iwajima, we took the tender to the port. It was only a 10-minute ride, and there was one time in Amami where we had to take a zodiac, but that was usually quite unusual for Japan. So when we arrived in Iwajima, we went on a bus tour to an old town, which was a really great insight to see how people lived centuries ago, with the town still operating in some parts as a replica kind of that historic time. So we went to two candle making workshops, and one of them actually was operated by the seventh generation of the original founders, which was quite cool. So I was only in Japan for 7 days, which didn't feel like enough. but it was certainly enough time to get an idea of what those lesser known islands are like and who would suit, what kind of traveler would suit the island. So people who like exploring nature, you've got your untouched forests, your sparkling bays for snorkeling and diving, and it's a really great kind of way to get into nature and escape the hustle and bustle of the bigger cities as well. People are who are into history, so you've got your museums, your traditional towns, and to learn about Japanese culture over the years and also World War II history as well. And then you have cultural immersion. So it's not like being on the traditional tourist trail where things are set up for tourists. You can actually quickly immerse into local life, learning about the culture or having a conversation with some of the friendly locals.